What's going on, everybody? We are just under 24 hours away from opening kickoff between the Miami Hurricanes and Florida State Seminoles at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. Came across this podcast. It's called The College Football Addiction. And you have three guys hosting it: TJ, Tom, and Cole. TJ Pittinger, Tom Hannafin, and Cole Thompson. Now, TJ Pittinger is an FSU guy, FSU fan, whereas the other two guys, one is Penn State and one is Texas. They do a college football podcast. And I did see TJ on the podcast with Coach Coop, who's a Miami Hurricane podcast. And shout out Coach Coop. Now, TJ did a lot of talking in this video. And while he did pick FSU to win, he doesn't really believe it. He picks FSU 31-28 after saying basically a lot of negative stuff about Florida State. In fact, he said that FSU's defensive line, while not using this exact word, that FSU's defensive line is trash. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. That team's the only guy that can actually rush the quarterback decently is Darrell Jackson. Oh, a former Hurricane. And people double team him. And Miami may not even need to double team him because Miami's offensive line is just that good. But it's funny, man, with all the hype around this game and all the trash talking come from Florida State fans, that even the podcast world for Florida State knows that they need to play a perfect game to have a chance to win. Not to win, but to have a chance to win. So we're going to take a look at this podcast, give our comments, and this will be our last video prior to tomorrow's game on this game. Hope you enjoy it, and looking forward to this game tomorrow night. But man, I'm stoked. I'm ready to go. I'm playing the game. I feel like I've done a weight cut today or something. It's been a long day. But man, when the FSU podcast world is saying stuff like this about their own team, even though people think these teams are close in talent, I don't think they're that close in talent. I think there's big gaps between these two teams. I think that Florida State's got one wide receiver target, and if you shut him out of the game, they have nothing left. Deuce Robinson has more yards than the next three wide receivers combined. But take a listen. Welcome back, everyone, to Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Show. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let's take a listen to this podcast.
Apply. Tallahassee, Florida, Saturday night. Kirk making his private jet flight down from Tuscaloosa and coming into Tallahassee to call this game with Chris Fowler on ABC. Florida State comes in as a 4.5-point dog. You guys want me to go on this, or you want to start out, or what are we doing here? Just point.
They both want him to go first because he's the FSU guy. They want to hear what he's got to say to see if he's going to be honest. Take a listen.
Yeah, Florida State's up against it in this game. I think the most important thing in this game is going to be how much Gus Malzahn has left in the tank to scheme in this game. I don't think, and I said this against Alabama too, so maybe it's just me being a doubter and it'll work out really well. But I struggle to see, but Gus was really important in that game. Let's not kid ourselves. I struggle to see Florida State with their with the mismatch that Miami presents along the line of scrimmage, just lining up and physically beating the Canes this weekend. Could it happen? Absolutely. Football's weird and weird things happen. That Alabama result is probably the best data point we have of that for this team.
Let's stop right there. What he just told you is that the only way Florida State can win this game is by gimmick play. Trick plays, gimmicks. He doesn't believe they can win this game helmet on helmet. He doesn't believe they can win this game man on man. He believes that in order for them to win this game, Gus Malzahn has to come into a bag of plays and do trickeration type stuff, which is all part of football, so I have no issues with that. But that's the way he believes that they can. That's the only way he believes they can win. is that they have to come out of the bag with some hokey shit that catches Miami over pursuing, not keeping assignments, etc. And if that's the only way they can win, in the opinion of a FSU podcaster, a guy who covers the team, that tells you that they don't have much of a shot to win the game, because you can only run so many trick plays that go for touchdowns. Let's say they run one or two trick plays that go for big chunk yards. Then what? You think you're going to beat Miami 14-13, 14-10, 14-0? I mean, what do you really think that that's possible? No. FSU's defense will be scored on. But let's continue.
In the last 5 years. But asking them to do that again after what we've just seen from the Virginia game, which I do put stock into, but I'm not like, oh my God, fire everybody, season's off the rails just yet. I do think that you will need to rely on both coordinators, both Gus Malzahn, scheming things up and finding a way to neutralize maybe the best player in football right now, Rueben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, and all of those weapons that they have on defense. You're going to need to find a way to keep them on their heels instead of their toes, which they did incredibly well against Alabama. Offensively, I thought they did really well against Virginia too. Different kind of athlete there. If they can do that and Florida State can continue to move the ball consistently, which right now Florida State has the number one scoring offense and the number one yards per game offense in the country. I understand that two of those came against Cupcakes. They looked really good against Bama and Virginia too.
Again, stop it. They had 381 yards versus Bama. Yes, they did better versus Virginia, had 514. If you add up Virginia and Bama and then do division and do the mathematics, you do the math, FSU's offense would be ranked, just basic math. Let's just do it. Let's do the math for y'all. 514 plus 381 divided by 2, 447.5 yards of offense per game. That is actually less offense per game than the Hurricanes get. That would put FSU just ahead of Western Kentucky and Memphis. Behind UNLV, Miami, Kansas, TCU, East Carolina, UConn, Washington, Texas A&M. Like, the list is long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think Miami's like 30th in offense in the country. Yardage wise, and around 35th in points. So you're being a little disingenuous with the numbers, because the numbers of those other two games were over 700 yards. If you want to add up points in those two games, 38, which needed an overtime, 31 divided by 2, 34.5 points. Again, fluffing numbers with those two bogus games and saying they looked good against Bama and Virginia. Well, they're not the number one offense in the country by a mile. By a mile. So let's continue.
When they played Power 4 competition. If they can continue to move the ball and continue to be consistent there, they'll give themselves a chance in this game. Defensively, kind of the same idea. Beck is really good if you're not moving his feet. And they did a good job of getting after Ty Simpson. They didn't do such a good job against Chandler Morris. I do think a lot of that had to do with scheme. I thought it was weird that Florida State never brought more guys down into the box, never tried to make him beat them deep. I think they will adjust that. I just wonder how effective they'll be. Can the front four get home? I'm just going to tell you, I don't think so. They haven't shown any kind of lick of a pass rush yet. Their best defensive lineman gets double teamed every single play. That's Darrell Jackson. Miami may not even need to double team, but they certainly have that luxury because every one of their matchups along the offensive line can beat the other guy across the line of scrimmage. And so I think.
So you expect the Miami offensive line to dominate the FSU defensive line. FSU's defense line can't get a lick of pressure. If you can move Carson Beck's feet, you can have a chance. But you don't expect that to happen. So how the hell do you think Florida State's actually going to win? I mean, respect. How do you think they're going to win? Like this is like that shit when you bet on something and say, "Yeah, I know. Give me this guy -7." What? Or plus, I'm sorry, +7 or whatever, even money, whatever it is. You don't believe any of these things that you just said. Like you just you just told the world that they're not good enough and that you need to have a masterful scheme from the offensive and defensive coordinators. The D line can't get pressure. The O linemen helmet on helmet are better than your D linemen. And yet, at the end, you pick FSU 31-28 and you say, I'm a homer. I get it. Yeah, you got to be. Because you can't say all these things and then come up with FSU winning this football game. You can't. You can't. You can, but you can't, you know.
They will have to get very creative with bringing guys down into the box, bringing pressures, disguising pressures, which Tony White has historically been good at. I just wonder how effective it truly is. If they can move Carson Beck's feet, if they can get him off rhythm just a little bit, I like the matchup in the secondary. I like what Florida State's secondary has been so far this year. I do think that this is a Miami offense that is completely fine with nickel and diming you down the field. I don't think that Beck is just trying to hit 60-yard bombs all day, like maybe Lagway's offense tries to at times. So I do think that there is a path, but it will take both coordinators being I think you'll have to win both coaching matchups. Miami is really good. I still kind of say they're the best team in the country. They're the most impressive team in the country so far this year, despite what Oregon just did last week in Happy Valley, despite what Ohio State has looked like so far. I think Miami's been super impressive. Questions for Miami are, how do you handle being away from Hard Rock for the very first time? I think Florida State has shown that they will consistently get up. Shoot, they were like 1-5 at this point last year and sold out the game against Clemson, right? The fans will show up. They will be into it. Not that Beck is going to, not have been in big time environments and played in Austin and played in other places. Obviously, Jacksonville's a split crowd, but he's been there and done that, played in Tuscaloosa last year. I don't really worry about it so much for him, but can it make the difference in the margins? Can you turn a 3rd and 2 into a 3rd and 7 because of a false start or a delay of game or something like that? We saw Alabama struggle with that at times. There were at least 2 of those pre-snap things that I can remember. And so can you get that kind of same result because of the atmosphere, because of the crowd? Can Florida State start fairly quickly, which they've done in every game except for that Virginia game when they went down 14-0? If they can, and the crowd can stay into it, all you can ask for in this game is to give yourself a chance to be in the game late. You can't go down like Florida did early and us all kind of a blown ref's whistle away from going down 20-0 on a play that should have counted as a touchdown for Miami. So I think that's important for Florida State. You can't let the crowd be taken out of it early. I also don't know that Florida State's built to come back against a roster like this. They did a good job. Every touchdown they scored in the game against Virginia, they were trailing, except for the one where it was tied 14-14. I don't know that you can consistently go out and answer Miami and be playing catch up all day. So you got to start fast. The coordinators absolutely have to win their battles, which is not unthinkable. Like, I really like what Gus has done so far through 4 games. And outside of, the Virginia game, I think Tony White's been pretty good too. So I didn't love his scheme against Virginia. I think that will get adjusted. But those are the big questions I have in this one.
So let's hit on a couple of things here. He mentioned Tony White. Outside of the Virginia game, we only played 4 games. You only played 4 games, and one of them was a real opponent. So you basically are 50-50 on Tony White. You thought his scheme against Virginia sucked. You thought his scheme versus Bama was good. Largely probably just because they won the game and they performed well. I don't think Bama's quarterback is that good. Just being real. I don't think he's that good. I don't think Bama's that good. I think they're good, but they're not that good. I think Georgia, highly overrated. So when you look at these different teams, I think those 2 teams, I think the SEC is just a vastly overrated conference. People won't like that in the SEC, but it's a vastly overrated conference. You get benefits of the doubt for everything. He mentioned last year that when they were 1-5, they still sold out the building. That's a bit. Let's be honest. They were doing construction to the building. They closed off a large portion of the building. So a sellout there would have been upwards of 90,000 people. I've been to Doak Campbell Stadium. I know what it looks like. I know how many people it holds. And I can tell you this, it wasn't a real sellout. They had 55,000 people there. I'm looking at it. 55,107. Half the freaking building was shut down due to construction. Do not tell me they sold out the building. They would not have sold 90,000 tickets. They wouldn't have sold 90,000 tickets. Like, I get it. You're FSU. I understand. Miami versus FSU, or 80,000 tickets. Miami versus FSU in 2023, 79,560. So your attendance last year versus Clemson was 25,000 less. And now they made the actual building smaller. So it's more than 55, but it's less than 79 or 80,000 people. I think he hits on a lot of stuff, and I appreciate honesty because I don't think he truly believes that FSU is going to win. Everything he said tells you that FSU is not going to win. There's nothing in here that the best case scenario he just said was that they're in the game late. Not winning the game, in the game, that they have a chance. FSU doesn't believe they have a real chance to win. FSU players don't believe they have a real chance to win. The podcasters, the media guys, the guys who watch this team don't believe they have a real chance to win. So let's take a listen to the other two guys that are on the panel.
You've got to be able to change the run defense in some capacity. You have over 200 plus yards on the ground at Virginia. They can gas you if you are Miami. And Miami has 3 running backs that all have proven that they can easily boot, scoot, and boogie like Brooks and Dunn in the open field.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he did say that he thinks Miami's the best team in the country. He did say that too, so I appreciate the honesty. I'm a real honest Hurricane fan. I know when Miami has a shot. I know when Miami has no shot. I remember the years where I'm like, yeah, Miami's gonna get crushed. You know, I'm not afraid to say it because I speak truth. I speak facts over my feelings. Like it's anyone who picks FSU to win is picking FSU to win based on emotion, not based on data or what you've seen. So let's continue.
To make you miss at the line of scrimmage. So Tony White's gotten better at that. I think what's going to be really interesting is that when you see Mike Norvell and Gus Malzahn scheme up something that has Miami kind of slipping at the line of scrimmage, because Miami is, in my opinion, yet to go up against an offense that is high tempo. And I'm not saying that Florida State's one of these teams that can absolutely just go gun to the metal, run 6 plays in under a minute the way that Tennessee does, but there are some things about Gus's offense that keep you on your toes because if they get to the line of scrimmage fast, they reset the ball, they do a good job of mixing in a run-to-pass option kind of scenario, and then some design runs with your quarterback that maybe has Miami slipping at the line of scrimmage, and then you get into the open field for an explosive play. That's going to be a lot of ways I think that Florida State is going to have to win this football game. You're going to have to find somebody else outside of Deuce Robinson also. You know, Robinson has been such a godsend for this team. You look at his numbers this year, he's done everything. And that's not to say that he can't do it alone. But I mean, just think about this for a second. He has 346 receiving yards. Everyone else behind him has fewer receiving yards combined than what Deuce Robinson is. So it could be LaWayne McCoy, it could be Jalen Lucas, it could be Gavin Sawchuk, it could be Squirrel White if he's fully healthy. Whoever it is, somebody has got to be able to step on up and be that secondary element if you are Florida State. And then from Miami's perspective, in my opinion, Carson Beck, you get your open shot. Do you let it fly? Again, this is a guy that has 3 interceptions through the first 3 games, through the first 3.5 weeks of the season. Can he do enough in this game to be able to gain a little bit more ground and maybe put Miami in a position where they don't have to just trust the rushing attack? They can go ahead and put it on the back of the shoulders. And he feels like that once again, I'm playing a more cohesive, balanced game of football. I very much think that those are some things that are just beneficial towards his success and very well could be a reason why we are talking about Miami easily march on into Doak Campbell Stadium. Remember, this is the first road test too. So a lot of things going against them that could easily allow Florida State to get right back in this game. Can they set the tempo early on in this matchup to where they take the energy out of the crowd and then they're leaving for the exits in the third quarter?
I have a feeling this one ends up feeling eerily like the Notre Dame game for Miami. And granted, first week of the season, both teams trying to figure stuff out, but I think we can retrospectively look back and say that was a damn good win by Miami. Now that what we know about Notre Dame, and CJ Carr had his very first start on the road, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of variables you can point to, but I think you're going to see an offensive approach by Miami in this game. In that game against Notre Dame, it was 20 of 30 passing for 205 yards, 6.8 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Carson Beck. And I mentioned you're talking about sleeper more or less, and I was like, I just think he's going to be less than what that total was. Forgive me, the number escapes me, TJ, but I just think this is going to be what Miami wants to do, and that's run the ball consistently. I don't think they're going to ask Carson Beck to do anything crazy, but every once in a while, Carson Beck can hurt you downfield. They have the athletes to burn you with explosive plays. I think Miami's going to stick to their identity in this one. I do give a lot of favor to Florida State, feeling like Florida State again this year, at least internally and within Tallahassee. I know they feel strongly about this. The game being on the road at Tallahassee, I think is going to be a factor. I still firmly believe Miami is the number 1 team in the country and the most well-rounded team in the country. Defensively, Miami is going to do whatever they can to take away Deuce Robinson. Not that I think he presents the greatest threat of any wide receiver in the country. It's not Jeremiah Smith. It's not DeCorian Moore. But I think you're going to see a situation where they, being Miami, will be able to get pressure with 4. They'll load up the box, they'll take away the run, and they will make Tommy Castellanos beat them. So you then have to risk a handful of explosive plays here, but I worry about Florida State's ability to chain together long drives if they don't get those explosive plays. That being said, the spread, as we talked about before, is only 4.5. I think that makes sense. I still like Miami to cover the spread, and I think this thing winds up being about 30-21. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Cole?
I don't like this spot for either team, more so because of, again, you have another bye week to look forward to if you're Miami, and then you're on the road for the rest of the season. And that's where I think it gets a lot of struggles. So you could easily use this as like a stepping stool to where it gives you the opportunity to drop a game later on in the year, and then it puts you in a position to where you don't have to worry about not making it to Charlotte. I think Florida State has a lot of things that need to be corrected, and they were exposed last week, and I just don't know if it's going to be able to be fixed in time to go up against Miami. I'm going to take Miami to win. I'm going to take Miami to cover. I'm going to go 30-24. I just think that it's a little bit too close, and then the very end of the fourth quarter or start of the fourth quarter, Carson Beck makes a big-time play to Malachi Toney, gets to the back of the end zone. So, yeah, 30-24. Covers by 6.
I think if this game's played 10 times, Miami wins at least 7 of them, but I'll be the homer on this one. I'll say Florida State wins 31-28. They find a way at home. Gus does just enough. He's saved just enough. And listen, I think what's interesting about this is that I don't think Florida State has seen a set of trenches like this. I also don't think Miami has seen an offense that's this capable either. And so as good as I feel about their defense, I don't know that I think they hold Florida State down as well as, even Bama did, right? Like kind of similar profiles there defensively. I do worry a ton about Rueben Bain, who I think is the best player in the country right now. Florida State's got to stay in third manageable, which they did very well. Actually, they've done that very well, all 4 games. I think Florida State, it's a repeat of 2021, 31-28, Florida State wins. Complete homer pick, home crowd, and Gus get it done.
You can see he doesn't believe that pick. You know he doesn't believe that pick. Complete homer pick. So FSU's D-line stinks. Rueben Bain's the best player in the country. Miami's the best team in the country. They got to be perfect. Gus Malzahn has to have 8 trick plays in the bag that go for touchdowns, pretty much. Like, there wasn't one specific thing that he said that would make anyone believe that FSU has any shot to win the game. Not one thing. Home game? That's it? That's it. This is not the same team that was in 2021 or whatever it was that was 31-28. This is a much better team for Miami. Like, respect. Credit for the video in the description. But he doesn't believe that FSU has a shot. So, even though he says they're going to win the game. That's all I got. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and we're less than 22 hours away from kickoff, man. Let's go, man. Got all your Hurricane coverage right here at Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.